Hello, everybody. I'm Jessica Mand, and I'm here to continue the conversation with Kim Knox Beckius, dear friend of mine, a travel journalist, author, and Yankee Magazine contributing editor. Kim is also an expert on all things New England travel, and she joined us a week ago for a conversation around travel, the change that's been happening in the travel industry in the light of the COVID era, and what perhaps we can expect as things start to open up and people are out there traveling a little bit more. We talked about wellness escapes and the rise of something called philantourism. So welcome, Kim. It's great to see you again. And
Oh, it's so good to see you too.
thank you. So let's start maybe by rehashing what philantourism is and what we're going to be seeing from that.
Sure. We talked a little bit about how we'll be thinking a little bit more strategically about where we spend our travel dollars, taking those funds to some of the hardest hit states in our country, countries in the world that depend on tourism for their economies and that have been devastated as a result of all of the shutdowns. So, we talked about some that people might not expect, such as Vermont is the third hardest hit state in the country, and that was a direct result of how much they limited travel into the state during the last over a year now, really. So as of June 1, Vermont will be fully open, and it's an opportunity really to take advantage of a beautiful place that also will really appreciate that you're going to be vacationing there in a way that of course all of these innkeepers, hospitality folks always have been very appreciative of whoever comes, but there's a deeper need there that will guide us, I think, somewhat as we think about where do we really want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking personally, I hardly got out of my own hometown for much of last year, but one of the things that we were able to do was rent a house, a house in Vermont. It was super clean. It became a new kind of like home base for a small group of my pod. And we just found a way to at least have a different viewpoint out the window, and it was really extraordinary because it really gave us a sense of community. Speaking as a person who lives by myself, it was really refreshing to spend time with an extended family of small people that I trusted to be healthy, and it was
And a
really great.
change of scenery, I think, is just so healthy. You do get that monotony. It inhibits your creativity, I think. One of the things I've said throughout the pandemic is I miss eavesdropping on conversations in coffee shops. I used to work so much in every Dunkin' Donuts in New England. I've sat and typed something, and you just pick up snippets and words. And as a writer, I'm so missing that random input, I guess I would call it, of just hearing and seeing different things, different view of the world. So as we get out, and the vacation rental option is a really good one for folks. It feels very safe. It feels very controlled. You don't have to worry about who else is coming and going. I know of an outfit that is called the Wigwam Western Summit in the Berkshires. They've got great little cabins with the most amazing mountain and sunset views, and they're really reaching out to even solo travelers to say, come. And the couple that runs it, she is kind of mama hen for people, but she wants to know, if you're a solo traveler, where are you hiking, when do you expect to be back? And so that idea that if you've been shut up and you want to travel, even traveling alone, when you get a space that you control, it doesn't have to be isolating. It can be part of a cabin family or something like this, where you make connections with people but still stay very, very safe in the process.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I mean, even going back to, going to, as you were saying about going to coffee shops, I did a lot of the same things, and, just making a connection, or like overhearing a conversation and chuckling and like looking over and like making that little connection. I know it sounds maybe random, but it connects you to a bigger world and really grounds you in a different way. And I definitely miss that. I find myself over communicating now when I'm wearing a mask. I gesture more. I'm trying to like open my eyes and make, yeah, exactly.
Let your inner Italian out. That's
Yeah. Exactly that. So here's a question. So one of the things that I've been seeing is so many innkeepers or restaurants or hotels have really been trying to be innovative in thinking about new ways of luring customers out into an environment that's safe, that they can feel very safe in. I've seen restaurants doing outdoor seating, but in greenhouses, or all sorts of different things. It's been fascinating to see the pivot. What could you say about that, or what do you think? Do you think that's going to continue perhaps in the future? More innovative ways of drawing out customers and really creating experiences, not just serving a meal or having a trip.
So I think, New England ingenuity, got to give a plug for that, that there's a survivalist instinct here that kicks in. And so you always have two choices in a situation like this. You're either going to dig deep and survive. That pivot word has been all over the place, but it isn't even about pivot. It's about a decision that we're going to survive. How are we going to survive? How do we get creative? How do we bring people back? I heard, I was on the road some over the past year. I had projects. I was in Newport, Rhode Island with one of the tourism officials, and she said, we're going to have a BYOB campaign, bring your own blanket, and keep people dining outside through November. And so again, it's just this idea of creativity. How do you plant the seeds of, okay, it's a little different, but it's still fun. And honestly, not doing things the same way as always. Dining in a little greenhouse is fun, and an igloo is fun. These things, rooftops, outdoor. And I met with some folks in New Hampshire. Some brave souls are launching new hospitality businesses in the midst of this. So there's a new winery property opening in New Hampshire, and they said, my goodness, you know what we learned last year? We learned people like to dine outside. We had no idea. They don't want to go back indoors. They love it to sit pondside. So their new facility has a wonderful fountain and pond. I think we're discovering some things about human nature that maybe restaurateurs have been reluctant to embrace, but a lot of this will stay with us. So I think we're seeing a lot of creativity and just a lot of education too.
Yeah.
And I think I've said it for so long that, when you check into a hotel, how long are you really going to spend in the room? Hopefully you're out exploring, and even if it's outdoor exploring, which feels very safe to a lot of folks, be willing to be accepting of the fact that not all of the amenities are there. Maybe they're not going to give you all the fluffy pillows and the blankets and the extras, because that's just too much to maintain in this kind of germaphobe environment. But go anyway with a very open mind about the fun is what you're going to make of it. It's not the hospitality outfit's job to do everything for you, I guess, is the way to look at it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? And that, the
That
beauty of a rental too, bring your own comforts. And we were just talking before we started about just as renting a movie theater. Bring your own DVD, make it about you, and this is kind of a fun time to embrace that, like make the trip about what comforts you, but take care of some of those details on your own.
Mhm. No, that's
Yeah.
absolutely, I absolutely agree with you. And it's interesting also observing the logistical things that are changing too, as far as hotels and travel. And, certainly I'm starting to think that when I do travel, the first time I'm on an airplane, I know I can buy a device that you can wear that purifies the air. Like, I always thought that they looked silly, but the heck with that. I don't care now. You know, are there other logistical changes you think that are in the works that we should be looking out for as far as travel or?
I think everything, again, that being self-reliant on provide the comfort that you want to see. So many of the inns in New England are going to the picnic breakfast idea, where you're not going to sit in a room and maybe be with other people and dining. And for some folks, that interaction was a highlight of staying in a small inn. But for a lot of folks, they're there for privacy, or they're there to be with a loved one, and they don't necessarily want to make chit chat at 8 a.m. or have their breakfast at 8 a.m. So honestly, those that are kind of getting creative are finding people love this. Take your breakfast out on the lawn, take your breakfast and get in the car and go. So there's innovation in that way, but doesn't mean it still can't be delicious. It can't be special baked goods, or this is how I think a lot are adapting. Like, we want to still provide a breakfast experience, but it does not have to be on China. And I
Yeah.
think we've all just like we all don't necessarily wear whatever we talked about, hard pants or something. That's what somebody called them. He said, we're not wearing hard pants anymore.
Hard pants. Just yoga pants.
That's right. No more hard pants. Uh, there's no more. It doesn't. It can be fancy in your own mind. Like that. That's a piece of it, I think. There are logistics. I have a travel writer friend who's going to stay in a hotel for the first time since this began, and she's headed to Vermont. And that idea that it's still cold in Vermont, you might have to bring your own extra blankets to the hotel, even though you're staying in a hotel. But again, if you have your car, you can overpack, embrace the overpacking and go. So.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't see any problem with bringing my own pillow. I've often brought my own pillow with me when I travel, and having an extra blanket. I mean, you do what you have to do, right? So it's all good. I'm just excited for the time when we can travel with confidence and comfort and just get back out in the world, right? I mean, there's so much that we learn when we interact with new people outside of our own cultures or whatever it may be. I always come home better, I think, when traveling. So
Yeah, and I saw that with my daughter all of her years growing up, that she always seemed to come back from a trip a different person. She had matured, she'd learned something, she, had tried a new food, or so it's important for families too. I think that we don't realize how difficult this may have been on little ones are resilient naturally, but they've missed a year of that growth and maturation of being out and interacting and seeing. So taking the little people in our lives places and giving them new experiences, I think, is something to keep in mind too, as we get back to moving. It's an important part of growth, and we never stop growing, hopefully. And so at any age, there is something about who you become while you're away, and how you're different when you get back. And it's not just you've got a lot of laundry to catch up on or that sort of thing. I haven't had that in forever, the whole unpacking. It was never fun to unpack.
no, that's true. It's so true. Oh my God. Well, that's an awesome point. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for this conversation today. Now, before we let you go, if the audience has any questions, how do they find you? Where can they learn more about your writings, your books, everything? So.
Oh boy, so I'm pretty much everywhere, and I do have a contributor to a new book that's just coming out. So on the bookshelves in your bookstores, look for the Frommer's Folders Guides. Both I contributed to recently to the updates, and I love those legacy travel brands that were so committed to travel. That's they've continued to put out content throughout. Not gonna dial back from it. So look for those if you're in Barnes and Noble, and even if you live in New England, I think there's something about buying the guidebook and having that with you and flipping through it. Maybe it's old school. I get it. There's a lot on the internet, but it's not as cohesive as really kind of getting a packaged guide and saying, let me really dig into re-exploring what's close to home. So I think, I'm always an advocate for books and taking a look at something that's been written and composed in a very comprehensive sort of a way. I'm online at Everything New England, both on Instagram and Facebook, New England Girl on Twitter, and I write for Trip Savvy, write for Yankee Magazine. All of that is online. Yankee's been wonderful, I will say, about putting their whole issue in digital format online for free throughout the pandemic. That was a new move where, and again, because we print a beautiful photographic magazine, we worked months and months in advance. And so we've had to pivot, we've had to make some interesting calls about what's life going to be like in 6 months. We're working on my fall column right now. And what is fall going to be like? So we have to use our imaginations a little bit. And Yankee's been very, very generous about saying, please read this magazine. Please keep supporting these wonderful businesses, and don't give up on travel. So
Subscribe to Yankee.
yeah, subscribe is wonderful too. It's very inexpensive when you look at what you get, but but you don't have to. You can find it all online right now, including every column I've written for years and years. So a lot of them are about driving tours. A lot of them are about things that you can do very, very safely. And of course, as we all get vaccinated, shot 2 for me today. Hopefully that gives us all a new comfort level to do a bit more than we have.
Yeah, for sure. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much, Kim. And for those of you that are watching, so if you'd like to join a future Connext Exchange conversation, they happen every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. You can find more information about what's coming up, what conversations, and who our guest speakers are. Just find us in all of the social media avenues and search for Connext Exchange. All right. So thank you again, Kim.
Travel safely.
Yes, absolutely.